In a verdict that has shocked the nation, the accused killer of Charlie Kirk has been sentenced to death. A single sentence, a single moment, and yet its repercussions are already rippling across the political landscape like wildfire. From the halls of power in Washington, D.C., to the endless feeds of social media, the story has ignited outrage, fear, and debate. Millions are asking the same question: how could this happen, and what does it mean for a country already divided? Tonight, we delve into the story behind the headlines. The trial. The shocking revelations. The political fallout. And the questions that remain unanswered, haunting a nation at a moment when every action feels larger than life. This is more than a case. This is a mirror reflecting the very fractures of American society. Charlie Kirk, a name that carries influence and controversy, has been a defining figure in American politics for over a decade. Known for his conservative activism, his rallies, speeches, and viral campaigns, Kirk has inspired millions, but also drawn the ire of countless critics. For supporters, he is a voice of clarity in a chaotic world; for opponents, a provocateur whose words stir division. But behind the headlines, tragedy struck. The accused in this case was no stranger to controversy. Obsessed, radicalized, and, according to prosecutors, intent on a violent act, the individual set in motion events that would shock the nation. The crime itself was swift, brutal, and indisputable, yet its consequences have lingered far beyond the courtroom walls. Social media erupted immediately. Tweets, posts, videos, all flooded timelines as people struggled to comprehend what had happened. Outrage mixed with disbelief. Legal experts weighed in. Political commentators debated. Ordinary citizens asked how someone so influential could be targeted so violently. The story, already sensational, grew with every passing hour, feeding a national obsession with tragedy, justice, and the consequences of unchecked political fervor. And as the investigation unfolded, one thing became clear: this was not just a crime. It was a story about a nation on edge, a society polarized, and a system struggling to reckon with the extremes of political influence and public obsession. The moment the accused was arrested, the political world erupted. Reactions came from every corner of the spectrum. Conservatives argued that the attack was emblematic of a hostile environment created by those who vilify voices like Kirk's. Liberals warned of rising extremism, pointing to a culture where anger and radicalism can spiral into violence. The country became a battlefield of narratives, each side claiming the moral high ground. Television panels, radio shows, and online forums buzzed with debate. "This is political violence," one commentator shouted. "This is justice being served," said another. Every statement, every tweet, every news clip became part of the story. It was no longer just about a crime, it was about ideology, about identity, and about the fault lines of an increasingly divided nation. Social media, the modern town square, became a digital war zone. Hashtags trended, memes spread, and arguments erupted in comment sections. Even ordinary citizens felt personally invested, taking sides as if the verdict had already been delivered in the court of public opinion. The trial, though still ongoing, had already changed the way the nation viewed itself. It was no longer simply a case, it was a symbol. The fallout wasn't limited to opinions. Politicians, activists, and influencers took stances that would echo for weeks. Alliances were tested. Loyalties were questioned. And in homes, offices, and cafes across the country, people argued, debated, and wondered, how far has our political division gone, and what would this verdict mean for the fragile trust in the system? The trial itself became a spectacle. Every day brought new revelations, shocking testimony, and moments that left the nation on edge. In the courtroom, the air was thick with tension. Witnesses gave accounts that chilled the heart. Evidence presented painted a picture of premeditation, intent, and consequence. Each revelation seemed more damning than the last. One particularly shocking moment came when prosecutors revealed private communications from the accused, detailing a plan that authorities describe as calculated and relentless. The courtroom gasped. Defense lawyers countered, challenging credibility, questioning motives, and even suggesting mental instability. Every argument, every objection, every pause in the trial was scrutinized, analyzed, and broadcast to millions following the case from their screens. Outside the courtroom, social media turned into a live feed of analysis, speculation, and debate. Clips of testimony went viral. Reactions poured in from politicians, pundits, and the public alike. Every shocking piece of evidence became a thread for discussion, every dramatic exchange replayed endlessly. The trial, already a legal battle, had morphed into a national event, a lens through which the divisions, fears, and obsessions of the country were magnified. By the time the sentencing approached, tension had reached its peak. The nation waited, holding its collective breath, as if the outcome of this case would determine more than the fate of one individual, it would measure the very state of American society. And then came the moment the nation had been waiting for. The judge's words echoed across the courtroom: the accused would face the death penalty. Silence fell, thick and heavy, before being shattered by gasps, cries, and murmurs of disbelief. The reactions were immediate and intense. Families, friends, and supporters in the courtroom showed visible emotion, while the world watched, riveted, as the verdict spread across media feeds and social platforms. News anchors repeated the announcement. Tweets exploded in every direction. The sentencing had not only concluded a trial, it had ignited a firestorm. Some celebrated, seeing justice delivered. Others recoiled, horrified by the severity and finality of the decision. Political commentators debated the implications for the broader landscape, arguing over the fairness, legality, and morality of the sentence. And as the nation absorbed the news, the story continued to grow, extending far beyond the confines of the courthouse and into every home, every office, and every conversation. This was more than a verdict. It was a reflection of a society grappling with justice, political tension, and the consequences of extremism. And it was only the beginning of a debate that would rage on long after the gavel fell. The sentencing has sparked a national conversation that goes far beyond one case, one individual, or one political figure. Experts warn that this is a warning of what can happen when political passion turns into obsession, when anger is left unchecked, and when rhetoric transforms into real-world consequences. Across the country, analysts discuss the implications, the rise of extremism, the role of media in amplifying conflict, and the polarization of public discourse. Some argue that the verdict is necessary, a reminder that violence has consequences. Others contend it reflects deeper fractures in a society increasingly defined by division, suspicion, and ideological warfare. Public debate rages, split along lines that have become familiar in American society. Liberals and conservatives, centrists and extremists, commentators and ordinary citizens all weigh in, creating a cacophony of opinions. And in the middle of it all, the question persists: how do we reconcile justice with division, morality with politics, and public outrage with the law? This trial, this sentence, and this case have become a lens through which the nation views itself, revealing the tensions, fears, and passions that simmer just below the surface. The story has become larger than life, and its consequences will echo far beyond the courtroom walls. The sentencing of Charlie Kirk's accused killer is more than a headline. It is a mirror reflecting the tensions, divisions, and passions that define a nation at a crossroads. It is a story of tragedy, justice, and the consequences of a society divided. As the country looks forward, the questions remain: how will this verdict shape the political landscape? How will society respond to a reality where extreme actions collide with extreme opinions? And how will individuals reconcile their beliefs with the unfolding events? The story is far from over. Appeals may come. Investigations may deepen. Political consequences may ripple through the system. But one thing is certain: this is a moment that will not be forgotten. It is a chapter in a larger narrative about a nation grappling with itself. For millions, the debate will continue in homes, offices, and online forums. For some, it will ignite outrage; for others, relief. And for everyone watching, the story will serve as a reminder of the fragility, complexity, and intensity of a society on edge. The verdict has been delivered. The nation has reacted. And the questions remain. Stay alert, stay engaged, and witness the next chapter of a story that has already changed America forever.